this portion of the DVD, we're going to go ahead and get UBCD for Windows. Remember, I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, and the purpose of UBCD is actually that it's a standalone Windows environment. Sometimes you can have a machine where viruses and malware have taken so much of a hold that it's really hard to navigate either way in the Windows environment, whether it's in safe mode or in normal full Windows mode. So the purpose of UBCD is to completely bypass the Windows installation altogether. Now it does have several utilities that are on it, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works. So I'm going to bring up Internet Explorer and gonna go ahead and do a search for UBCD for Windows. Should be the first link that pops up here, and we're just gonna go to the site. I'm also gonna create a second tab right quick and go to my favorites because I bookmarked the site that shows you all the different tools that UBCD comes with. Now this, as they're currently saying on the website, this is an out-of-date list, but from here we can still see some of the utilities. For example, the anti-spyware tools. We have AVG anti-spyware, which I mentioned before. We have Hijack This, which we already have. We have Rootkitty. We have Spybot Search and Destroy, which we already have in our tools list. We also have Super Anti-Spyware, which is another utility that people use. You may or may not want to use that utility. I haven't really seen a need. If you have all the rest of the tools, I don't really believe that you'll need Super Anti-Spyware, but you can add it to your tools list just in case you want it in there. And it's another free utility similar to Malwarebytes. Now, WinSock Fix is actually a program that you would need if a virus or malware hosts up the network connectivity on a Windows machine. Sometimes they can actually make it so that a computer can't lease an IP address, or that it can't really connect to any network resources at all. And WinSock Fix is actually made so that it goes in and it fixes the protocol stack within Windows and makes it so that a messed up computer can communicate with the network again. You can see here we have Avast Antivirus, which is in our antivirus tools, and we have AV Personal, we have Kaspersky antivirus. We also have McAfee Stinger, and like I said, the list goes on and on here. If you want to view this list, you can always go to the website here that I'm highlighting, and you can see a full list of items that are included with UBCD. And like I said, there are a lot of things, and this is most definitely not just limited to using this tool for spyware. I mean, there are a lot of uses for going into a computer using UBCD, anywhere from recovering a Windows password to recovering files to trying to recover deleted files, opening up archives, or just surfing on the internet, because they also have Firefox on here too. So like I said, it's a very, very useful tool. So going back to the main website here, we're just going to go ahead and click on downloads, and from here it's just telling us this file is actually 269 megs, which in this case I'm actually going to skip through the download process on this, but I've actually already downloaded the file, so you're not going to have to wait. And just going to click on the first link here, and in this case the download link is actually just right here. So I'm going to click on download, and it's going to give me the bar up here. Am I sure I want to download? And I'm going to say yes, and it's going to tell me that in order to download I have to retry the website. And now here we have our actual download file. So that's how you download UBCD for Windows. Remember earlier I told you that required for this DVD you're going to need a Windows installation disk. Well, this is the reason why. When we run the executable that we downloaded, it's going to go ahead and it's going to install on the computer And this is so that we can actually create our very own UBCD. And it's going to download all the add-ons and everything we need. And as soon as this gets done, you can see it's getting anti-spyware right now. And we're just going to fast forward through this process. Alright, so as you can see here, we've skipped through the most timely process of the installation, and now we're presented with a new window, and it's asking us, do we want to do a hash check on the download file that we got from the website. Since it was a larger file, over 200 megs, there's an increased chance that the file could have been corrupted while it was being transmitted. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click on no, because I'm pretty sure that the file is not corrupted. While it's enumerating the files, I also want to take the liberty of reminding you that you need to have your Windows XP CD on hand. This is going to be whichever version of Windows XP that you have on your current computer or on the computer that you want to scan. And now it's just going to go ahead and tell us that the integrity check was okay. And next here we have a window where it's going to lead you to a few resources. If you want to learn a little bit more about Universal Boot Disk and the options that you have available, as we are just touching the tip of the iceberg with what you can do with one of these disks by using the anti-spyware utilities on it, you can go to one of these resources listed on this window. And right here it's going to ask me, do I want to check and see if a patch file exists. I'm going to go ahead and say no. If you remember earlier on the website, it did tell me that no patches were currently available. And installation is done, so I'm going to go ahead and click on finish, and it's going to go ahead and launch the UBCD Win Builder. This is our end user license agreement. If you want to go ahead and read through it, you can. I'm going to click on I agree. And this next window is actually going to ask us, do we want the install, well actually not the install, but do we want the UBCD builder to manually look for the Windows XP installation files? I'm going to go ahead and tell it no, because it's going to take a really long time. But in this case, I actually do have the Windows XP Professional disk in my CD drive, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it just to look at the D drive. And there we go. The second field here is for if you want any custom folders or directories added to your UBCD. This third item here is going to be what the name of the folder is going to be that houses the contents of what's going to be on your CD. And this last area here has three options. You can either output to no media, which means that it's going to compile all the information on your disk and put it on nothing. It's just going to leave it in this folder. Or it's going to create an ISO. For those of you out there who may not be familiar with what an ISO is, it's basically a zip file that houses all of the contents of a CD. So a lot of times people can create software copies of CDs or DVDs and put them in ISO format. So you can create an ISO and burn it later if you like, or you can go ahead and burn it to a CD or DVD. And in this case, I'm just going to create an ISO because this virtual machine doesn't have a physical CD or DVD burner on it. And I also want to draw your attention down here to the plugins area. If you go ahead and click on the plugins button right here, then you're going to be able to see all of the programs that are going to be possibly available on our UBCD. And like I said, we're only going to be touching the tip of the iceberg with this CD. There are many more things it can do, but for the scope of this DVD, we're going to focus on the anti-spyware and antivirus properties of this CD. So if you look here, we have a few programs like Auto Run Eater, we have Easy PC Fix. A few of these you're going to find familiar, such as Hijack This, which is in our tools directory. We also have Spybot Search and Destroy, which is also in our tools directory. Super Anti-Spyware is something that I mentioned, but it's also on here too. And WinSock